There are only ever three possible reasons that your income is stuck in high ticket sales. Three reasons that you're not making the money you know you're capable of, whether that's 10K, 20K, or even 30K a month. And after working with hundreds of closers and sales reps over the last few years, I have built a mental model and a framework that lets me instantly diagnose what's blocking somebody from the next level of income. So, in this video, I'm going to walk you through that exact framework and mental model. We're going to go through the three layers that control your income, how to identify which one is holding you back, and exactly what to do to fix it. So, if you stay with me until the end and you identify what's holding your income back and you implement the fix that I give you, I promise you your income is about to take a quantum leap upwards, and it's going to happen very, very quickly too. So, with that being said, let's run it. Here we go, guys. This is exactly how to double, triple, maybe even quadruple your income in high ticket sales within as little as 30 days. Now, very quickly, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Scott Parsons. I've been in sales my whole adult life, but the last few years specifically have been spent in high ticket sales, where I have worked for and consulted some of the biggest online businesses in the world, including the likes of Charlie Morgan, Brooke Hiddink, and others. And I now run a mentorship, training, and recruiting program called Six Figure Remote that helps people to build a 10 to 30K a month income in high ticket sales. And with that being said, let's dive in. So the outcome of this video is that you're going to understand the three layers that control your income. You're going to understand how to identify which of the three layers are causing your income to stay below a certain level. And you're going to understand exactly how to fix each of the three layers so that you can unlock the next level of income, make the big money, and live the life that you want. So, first off, in terms of the mental model, you can kind of think of this like picking a lock. Not that I've ever picked locks and broken into houses. Hopefully you haven't either. But from what I hear, when you start picking a lock, you're trying different combinations. And then when you do hit the right combination, boom, the lock just pops open. Now, this analogy in our scenario represents that once you successfully, number one, identify which of the three layers is holding your income back, and then number two, you fix the problem using the process I give you in this video, your income, once you do that, will just boom, it will just unlock the next level of income, and your income will skyrocket up to the next level practically overnight, or at least, within 30 days. Now, secondly, you can also think of this mental model like a pyramid. So, you know how in a pyramid, the bottom layer is the widest, and then as you go up the pyramid, it slowly gets thinner. This is like our mental model, because there are three and only ever three possible reasons that you are stuck below a certain income threshold in high ticket sales. And absolutely, any time that your income is stuck below a certain threshold, it will always be one of these three problems. Now, like the pyramid analogy, the first layer, layer one, is the most common reason that your income will stay stuck. The second reason, layer two, is the next most common. And the third reason, layer two, is the least common, but it's absolutely still possible. So very, very important to stick around for that one, because this one is not as widely obvious and spoken about. Very, very important. So layer one, let's dive in, is called character traits. Now, as above with the pyramid analogy, this is the widest base layer of the pyramid, meaning this is the most common reason that your income will stay stuck below a certain amount. Now, here is the harsh truth. I have seen this multiple occasions in my sales career where there might have been individuals who on paper had less skill than others, but they were able to outcompete those who, again, on paper had better skills than them. Why? Because they possess stronger character traits that are favorable to sales. So think about this. Let's say two scenarios. Person A, they are a highly skilled closer or sales rep, but the thing is they're lazy. They have an inability to focus, they fold under pressure, maybe they take rejection very personally, and that rejection, really affects them emotionally. Now, contrast that with person B, who maybe isn't as skilled in sales, but they have like a crazy work ethic. Their focus is dialed in, they really thrive under pressure, and they're really stoic and unemotional when it does come to rejection. Now, over the long term is an important phrase there. Who do you think will close more sales and make more money? Now, on a short-term horizon, it might be person A who has the better skill set, but trust me, over a longer time horizon, person B will outcompete person A and make a lot more money. So here are the top 5 most important character traits to make the big money in high ticket sales. Number 1 is the obvious one, relentless work ethic. And I really mean, guys, like consistently over a long time horizon, day in and day out, because it's easy to work hard for one day. It's even relatively easy to work hard for 1 month. But how about when, let's say, for example, you've made 20K a month for the last 6 months. It takes a special type of person to continue working relentlessly hard, even when they're making big money. It takes a very special person to do that. So this is the most obvious character trait that you need to have to make the big money in sales, our absolutely relentless work ethic. And this is also just the easiest lever that you can pull in order to outcompete somebody. I've said this before in previous videos that one of the easiest ways to outcompete other people, really in any domain, is just simply put in more effort than everybody else. It's so simple, I know, but it's just true, okay? More work, more volume, just more everything, and you will outcompete. Now, the second one, though, is also extremely, extremely important in sales. It's what I call state control / emotional regulation. This, in a nutshell, is your ability to manage and control your internal state, your emotions, your energy. So, for example, not panicking when a prospect, pushes back on you. Not, crying when you miss a close. Instead, logically self-reflecting and analyzing, which we'll touch on in just a second. But ultimately, just staying composed, staying grounded, being unshakable. And by the way, as a side note, your ability to control and influence your own mind, your own energetic state, in my opinion, is one of the most important skills that you can have in your life. Very, very important, controlling your own mind. The third character trait to make the big money in high ticket sales is what's called extreme ownership. So top level performers, they never ever blame the leads. They don't blame the setter or the market. They ask themselves, what could I have done better? What's within my control? Okay. Now, the fourth character trait is focus. They're not, especially in today's day and age, this is so important. Being able to focus, not doom scrolling endlessly through, IG Reels or YouTube Shorts, whatever it might be, having a goal, having a target, and then being absolutely tunnel visioned on achieving that goal. So, for example, downtime in between, scheduled working time, instead of, doom scrolling and doing whatever degenerate things, you are, reviewing calls, you are rehearsing objection handling frameworks, you're sharpening your skills. Very, very important. If you can do that, if you can work when others are not working, you're just going to outcompete 99%, and that's just facts. Now, the fifth one is also very, very important. It's what I call presence and energy transfer. Because I can tell you guys, energy transfer is very, very real. And what that means is whatever internal energetic state that you are in, it will transfer over to the prospect, to the person that you are selling to. That's just fact. Even as I record these videos, I am very mindful that how I am feeling in my own internal state, that will transfer to you. That's just a fact. It might transfer a little bit, it might have a little impact, or it might have a lot, but the way that I feel will transfer to you. It will affect the way that I communicate, the way I say my words, and you will feel it, even if you don't consciously realize it, guys. I promise you it is happening. So the top performers are able to be present and really be in the right energetic state that is favorable to make sales. So an energetic state that transfers certainty, authority, and high status. The sixth and final most important character trait for top sales performers is self-reflection. So important. This is an underrated and very unspoken of force behind top level closers, that they ruthlessly self-reflect. Every single day they ask themselves, what did I do well today? What did I do not so well? And this is a very important question. I always ask myself this. What are the top 1 to 3 highest ROI things that I can do to perform better? Now, many of the top level guys, they go a step further, and rather than just thinking about these questions, they actually write it down. Maybe they've got a dedicated folder on Google Drive dedicated to self-reflection, where at the end of every single day, they will write down these 3 questions and write down the answers. They will have almost like a log and a journal with their answers, their thoughts, and reflections on these above 3 questions. Very, very important. Now, how do you know if and also what character traits are actually holding you back. You do it by asking yourself the below brutally honest questions. And guys, I have to really illustrate here that you have to be honest with yourself. Be self-aware. You know, this is all about you. This is about your income and the life that you want. So just, if you want to make the big money, if you want to unlock the next level of income, you have to answer the following questions honestly. And what you also have to do is really just pay attention to the feelings and the thoughts that arise within you when you do ask yourself these questions. So we're going to go one by one. When it comes to work ethic, a question that you can be brutally honest in answering is, let's say that somebody followed me around for 24/7, 7 days with a camera. Do you think that they would see a person who is truly working like they want to earn 30K a month? Truly. Also, a bonus question that you can ask is, am I doing just the bare minimum just to get by? Or am I doing everything in my power to grow and to hit my goals? You have to answer that honestly. Many people in life, in fact, most people in life, are just doing the bare minimum to survive. They're going to their 9-to-5 jobs, doing the bare minimum within that job, the least amount of effort possible. And you know what? That's fine, to be honest. Like, not everybody was meant to make, 20, 30K and upwards. Like, that's fine. Most people aren't like that. If you're the kind of person that clicked on this video, you probably want more out of life. You are probably ambitious and you have big financial goals. And if you want to attain these big financial goals, I'm sorry to say, guys, but the brutal truth is you're going to have to work harder than most people. That's just fact. Now, state control and emotional regulation. The audit question is, again, you have to answer this very, very brutally honestly, that when a call goes badly or I do get rejected, do I bounce back immediately, or does it affect my performance for hours, days, and maybe even months? And as a bonus question, you can ask, would a prospect describe me as calm, composed, present, in control, or tense, reactive, and needy? You can even go back, and if you are currently working in high ticket sales, go back and just analyze your own calls and think to yourself, and again, be honest with yourself. Am I acting calm, composed, present, or do I seem needy? Do I seem tense? You have to answer that honestly, and then go through the fix that I give you in just a second. The third one is extreme ownership. So the audit question here is, when I miss a sale, is my first instinct to blame the prospect or the setter, the script, the manager, or whoever it might be, instead of blaming myself? Your internal reference point of focus should be, what could I have done better? Now, guys, in life, yes, there are going to be things that are outside of our control, but we can't control those things. So we only focus on what we can control. And your internal reference point has to be, what can I control? So ask yourself that question honestly. And as a bonus question, you can ask, when's the last time I reviewed a call and I really found my own mistake before I blamed anything else, where you looked at the call and you thought, damn, I did that wrong. If you are doing that consistently, if you are reflecting, listening back to your calls and picking out things that you could have done better, you are probably on the right track and you probably have a good amount of extreme ownership. If you don't do that regularly, you probably need to work on, again, having a sense of ownership, as we'll go through in just a second. The next one is focus, and your audit question here is, how much of my work time is actually productive versus, am I doom scrolling when I'm meant to be working? Am I doing low quality, busy work, menial tasks that don't really mean much? And as a bonus question, you can ask, when I do have downtime, in other words, time when you're not actually scheduled to work, do I still do things that are productive towards my vision and goal? Again, or do I doom scroll? I keep bringing up doom scroll, but it's a massive problem from what I see. Now, a bonus question too for focus is just simply go and check your screen time on your phone, right? You'll have a rough idea. Your gut instinct will know if you spend too much time doing, degenerate, unproductive things on your phone. But again, go on your iPhone settings or whatever phone you have and just check your screen time. And you'll know pretty quickly how bad it is. And then you can adjust and focus through the fix I'll give you in a second. Now, presence and energy transfer. Your audit question here is, do I sound like somebody just within my own head, listening to myself out loud, maybe reviewing my calls? Do I sound like somebody who is certain, who is confident, who is a leader? Or do I sound like somebody who is needy and is really hoping that the prospect says yes? If not, then, you might have to work on that. The bonus question here is, if I watched a recording of myself on a call, would I honestly want to buy from that version of me? This is such a powerful question. Am I somebody that I would honestly myself want to buy from? And again, you have to be honest with yourself and just look at yourself from almost like you're looking down and you're detached from yourself looking downwards. Just like objectively looking at yourself. Would I buy from that person? And being really, really honest. The sixth one is the self-reflection question. The audit question here is, can I remember the last time that I wrote down what I did well and what I could improve on at the end of each day? For example, if I ask that question, the version of me, the version of Scott a few years ago, the answer would have been, a year ago. But now this version of myself, I'm doing this at the end of each day. So if I asked that question to myself, the answer would be yes, yesterday. At the end of every single day, I journal and answer the key questions of, what did I do well? What could I have done better? What's the highest ROI things I can do? I ask myself that every single day, and I have a dedicated Google Drive folder, which essentially creates a log and months and months and years of worth of reflection on these exact questions. Very, very powerful. The bonus question here is, again, just answering honestly, am I consciously evolving day by day and week by week? Or am I just going through life on autopilot, making the same mistakes, getting the same results? Again, have to ask that honestly. Now, as discussed, once you answer these questions, and maybe as we went through this video, you kind of had some thoughts and feelings that arised as we went through those questions, you have to really, really be conscious and pay attention to the thoughts and feelings that arise within you when you answer these questions. And if there's any specific questions where when you ask that question of yourself, you get like a thought and feeling of maybe shame, maybe hurt, embarrassment, or really just like if any negative type of thoughts and feelings arise as you ask that question to yourself, then that's your sign. That's your sign that the character, that specific character trait, that is the software that's running your entire system. And if you have buggy software, that's going to always lead to inconsistent results. Now, luckily though, we can fix these flaws in any of the character traits that you have. By the way, if you do have flaws in these character traits, that's fine. Step number one is awareness. And if you become aware of any flaws in character traits that you have, you're already ahead of 90% plus of the human population. None of us are perfect. We all have some flaws in our character traits. So what I'm trying to say is don't feel ashamed if you do have flaws. Just, become aware of them like you already have and then act on them, which is what we're going to dive into right now. So we're going to fix any flaws in particular character traits so that you can unlock the next level of income and performance in your sales career. So here's how to fix any of these character traits that you identify are holding you back. I call this the 3-step character upgrade formula. Because truthfully, guys, you don't upgrade your character by just reading quotes or watching mindset videos. That stuff can help, but truly, you fix these character traits through honest reflection, which by the way is awareness, repetition, and self-leadership. You don't change this by waiting to feel more motivated. You change this by deciding who you want to be and then forcing your behavior to match, to align with that person that you do want to be, the person that has the character traits that you want. And a quote that I sometimes give out to my guys that I'm working with is, "Success is the progressive realization of a consciously chosen goal." Most people in life are drifters. They don't have a goal that they've consciously chosen for themselves, let alone are working towards that goal. So what I'm trying to say, guys, is that if you have consciously chosen a goal and a vision for yourself and you are genuinely working every single day to achieve that goal, you can call yourself a success. Because that is my definition of success. If you have consciously chosen a goal and every single day you are getting closer and closer to that goal, doesn't matter if you've hit that goal, that to me, in my personal definition, achieving that goal is not the definition of success. It's every single day getting closer to that goal. And if you are doing that, proudly think of yourself as a success, because in my books you are, even if your bank account doesn't quite show it yet. So, here's step number one. You're going to choose one trait per week, one trait that you have identified that you're maybe lacking in. We're not going to try and fix everything at once. That just simply doesn't work. But what you're going to do is every Sunday evening, I like Sunday evenings to reflect. The new week's about to begin. The old week has just finished. Sunday evening, in my opinion, it's a great time to reflect. So every Sunday evening, you're going to choose one character trait from the list, whether that's work ethic, extreme ownership, focus, self-reflection, whatever it might be. You're going to circle just one, and that's your focus for the week. Step number 2, you are going to commit to one daily task that reinforces the character trait that you want to fix. You're going to write down one simple and measurable task that's going to reinforce that trait in your behavior. So some examples would be work ethic. I am going to review 2 sales calls per day every single day for this coming week. Setting yourself that task. Focus. You're going to say, I will set 3 60-minute deep work blocks per day with my phone off. No distractions. I'm going to take 5 deep breaths before each call to lock in that present state. After every call, I'm going to write down one thing that I could have done better. That's ownership, okay? You're going to pick one daily task that you're going to do every single day, okay? We're not just going to think about it. We're really going to write it down and track it, which is the next step. That is how a character trait becomes ingrained habit, okay? There's 4 stages of learning. I won't go into this right now, but essentially what the stages of a habit becoming ingrained is that first off, you have to consciously think about the habit. So you might have to consciously every single day, set reminders and say, right, okay, I'm going to, for example, take 5 deep breaths before each call. You're going to have to consciously remind yourself of that. But once you do it after a week, it's going to become unconscious. You won't have to think about it. You won't have to set reminders. It will just become unconsciously ingrained in your being. It will become who you are. And then the character trait will be fixed. And then your income, the next level of your income will unlock. So step number 3 is to have a 2-minute evening self-check ritual, guys. I practice what I preach. I do this at the end of every single day. And what you need to do is at the end of each day, run this short reflection. Did I live out this trait today? Did I follow through on the one task that I set myself? What, if anything, actually held me back? What will I do better tomorrow? And ideally, like I do, you want to create a Google Drive folder called Daily Reflection, and you want to have a Google Doc where you have all of these questions, and just at the end of every single day, it will take like 1-2 minutes max, really important. Just write down your answers to these questions. This will keep you accountable, and it will allow you to track whether you are actually on track and doing the things that you're supposed to be doing. So you're going to follow through with these 3 steps, guys, and they're nice and simple. You're just going to repeat and reinforce every single week. Every week, choose a new trait, loop back through the process, track your reflections, and then just really build your character up. You do this across a time period of 1, 2, 3 months. The next version of yourself, that character that you will step into, I promise you, it's going to change your life in so many ways. It's going to level up your income in so many ways. You're going to have much more money in the bank, but then it's also going to help you in other ways as well. You're going to move through life as that next upgraded character of yourself. And it's going to change your life in many, many ways. So let's say that you've done all this and now your character is absolutely solid. You've got that discipline, you've got that work ethic, you're self-reflecting daily, you're being very consistent. You show up every single day, but let's say that your income is still not quite where it should be. Now we have to move on to layer number 2, which is called skill. Now skills pay the bills, as the old saying goes, and I've got a step-by-step formula for you to upgrade your skills and therefore upgrade your income. So let's dive in. Step number 1 is to diagnose what your constraint, or you could call it what your bottleneck is, using the below 3 metrics. Now, every single closer in high-ticket sales has 3 key metrics that indicate performance, and humans might lie, but numbers do not lie. The first key metric is show-up rate, which for those of you that don't know is defined as the percentage of call bookings that show up to the actual live sales call. So for example, if you have 50 calls booked in, 50 of them show up, that's a 50% show-up rate. The second key metric is conversion rate, which is the percentage of live calls that actually close. So for example, if you have 100 live calls, 50 of them close, then you have a conversion rate of 50%. The third one is upfront cash collected. This is the percentage of upfront cash that you get on the spot versus the total sales price. So as an example, let's say that what you sell is $5,000. You collected $2,500 upfront. That is a 50% upfront cash collection. So step number 2 is some quick fixes for each and every single metric. So once you've identified the metric that is maybe lacking, here's how you go ahead and fix it. Now, first off, for sharp rate, I am going to bring out a whole video on sharp rates and specifically a pre-call process that can optimize sharp rates. So, hint, hint, make sure you're subscribed to the channel to check that out. Because the thing is that a show up rate is a whole topic within itself, but I want to leave you guys with a quick fix for this. So, to understand this process that I'm about to walk you through, we need to understand that immersion causes conversion. Immersion causes conversion and high sharp rates. Now, what this actually means is the more that a prospect consumes from us and consumes from the company that we sell for, the more likely they are to actually show up to the call and also buy on the call. So here's an optimal pre-call process that will optimize sharp rates and conversion. So what happens is the prospect books in a call and the setter or yourself, ideally the setter, puts them into a group chat with you as the closer. The setter will send an intro message and then you as the closer are going to reply back with a little bit of an introduction about yourself and then also a link to some content for them to consume. Now, in that first message, what you're also going to do is you send them a little bit of an intro, a link to some content for them to watch, and then you're also going to ask them to confirm once they've watched it. Very, very important there. And then once a prospect does reply back saying, yes, I've watched that content, you're going to send them another one, send them another piece of content. Why? Because immersion causes conversion. The more that a prospect consumes from you, the more likely they are to show up and buy. So here's a live example from one of my calls. So essentially, person books in as soon as possible. I send them this intro message. Hey, blah, blah, blah. This is when our call is scheduled for. They send back saying, yes, day and time is fine. You say, perfect. Take a look at this pre-call video. Here's the link for it. Let me know once you've watched it. And then they reply back, yes, eventually. And then you send them another piece of content. Okay. By the way, any of you guys that ever book in a call for me to find out more about the program, this is literally what will happen. So you'll know ahead of time. Now, what this pre-call process does is raise consumption, raise show-up rates, and therefore raise conversion rates, and then also therefore your monthly income. Now, like I said, show rate and pre-call process, that's a whole deep topic, and I've got a video coming out very soon where I'm going to go in depth, including scripts, copy, exact messaging to use, so look out for that one. Now, the second metric as closers that we need to focus on is conversion rate. So, I mean, literally, like one of the main topics that this entire channel and all my content is about is raising conversion rates and therefore taking your income up to entirely new heights. So definitely go and check out a bunch of my other videos on this channel that will help you to raise your conversion rate. But again, I want to give you a quick fix for this. Quick fix number one is to study live calls from the top performers. I'm talking like real high-level closers in real roles, ideally the same offer as you. Like if you're on an offer right now, whoever is consistently the top, first place or second place on the leaderboard, listen and watch their calls daily before you start your day of calls. Because when we emulate people, we emulate their results. This is just logical. And so by you listening to top closer calls daily, what happens is you begin to subconsciously model and emulate exactly what they say, exactly how they say it, their overall tone, their overall vibe, and therefore what happens? You start to emulate similar results. So a quick fix number two is to listen to your closed calls daily. This is very, very important because a key factor of success, really in not just sales, but in any domain and skill set, is your self-image. How you see yourself in your mind. Very, very important. And having a self-image and a positive, thought loops of yourself and your identity is to have an identity that you are a winner, that you can close deals, because reality really is like a mirror, where what goes on in our internal world and our self-image directly impacts what happens out there, our external world of results. So therefore, it's very, very imperative that you have an identity and self-image of being a winner and being a top salesperson. Because when you truly believe that on a deep subconscious level, reality, when you believe that you are a winner, you are a top salesperson, when you truly ingrain that in your subconscious mind, then reality and your outer world of results will very quickly reflect this identity back for you. So in order to build this identity and self-image, before you start your day, make sure that you listen to not all, but make sure you listen to 1, 2, maybe 3 of your previous call recordings that you have closed. Listen to it at 1.5x or 2x speed if you have to. What I do is when I go for a morning gym session, in between my sets, I'll just be listening to my closed calls and also top closer calls as well. And what this does is it just begins to ingrain in your mind. It reinforces before you start your day this positive identity and thought loops that you are the man, you are a winner, you can close deals. And what happens, remember what I said earlier, energy transfer is real. So when you believe this on a deep level, this will transfer to the prospects that you're going to speak with later on that day. So this is basically my morning routine, and I believe that it is an optimal morning routine for sales performance. So you wake up pretty much straight away, you go into a 5-10 minute meditation, and this meditation is absolutely crucial, really helps with focus, with state control like we talked about earlier, with active listening. And then you go and head to the gym, and then on your drive to and from the gym and in between sets, you're going to listen to both top closer call recordings and your own closed call recordings. Just to confirm and reiterate there, we're talking about recordings where you have closed the prospect, where they have bought from you. And I promise you that if you do that and if you implement this into your daily routine, you are going to make a ton of money and very quickly. But let's say that your character traits are dialed in, your skill set is dialed in, but you're still not at the numbers that you want to be at. I'm talking 10, 20, 30K a month and beyond. Well, in that case, there's one more layer left that it could be. And layer number 3 is the offer that you are working on, your opportunity vehicle. Now, I've stated this in many pieces of content on this channel and also on my X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it, that not all offers are made equal. That's just fact. Some offers are extremely easy to sell, and frankly, you'd have to be absolutely terrible to not be making at least 10, 15K a month. But inversely, there are some offers that are just extremely difficult to sell, where no matter how good you are, no matter how good your character traits and skill set are, it's going to be very difficult to break even 8 to 10K a month. There are offers out there in both of these kind of buckets. So how you identify if the offer that you're selling on is holding your income back is actually pretty easy to figure out. So nice and simply, all you do is analyze other people's results who are working on the sales team. So for example, if literally no one on the sales team is or has ever broken 10K a month, you can pretty safely and confidently assume that you are not on the best offer. If nobody else on the team is even close to 10K a month, if no one has been in the past, you are just frankly on probably a bad offer, right? A good offer should absolutely have at least some members of the sales team making at least 10 to 15K a month minimum. Ideally, you want some closer on the team making 20K a month plus. If there's not, then your income is very likely being stifled by being on a bad offer. And it could be a bad offer because of, for example, bad lead flow. Maybe they've got a bad product, bad reviews, reputation. Maybe it's just simply an offer that people don't want. And so if you reflect and you analyze and you realize that you're on a terrible offer that is holding your income back, you then want to follow my exact process to land a top 1% offer. So here's what you do. Head to my channel. I've put a link there. Go to the second video that I ever uploaded on my channel, and it's titled How to Land a Top 1% High Ticket Sales Role. Execute on that exact process that's laid out in that video. I lay out a process step by step for you to land a top tier, top 1% high ticket sales role and do it within a matter of weeks. I promise you, if you do that, if you execute on the process exactly step by step, you use the exact copy and scripts that I give you, I promise you, you will be able to land a top level high ticket sales role again within a matter of weeks. I'm talking where there are multiple members of the sales team that are making 15, 20K a month and upwards. And if you just simply want more help from me and you want to make a 10 to 30K a month income in high ticket sales, you want one-to-one coaching and mentorship from me, somebody who's done this at a high level for years, you want to have 30 plus hours of educational content on high ticket sales, over 8 hours of real live model call recordings of me closing deals for upwards of $10,000, increase your conversion rates, increase your cash collected, and ultimately just make the money that you want to make and live the life that you want. Click the link in the description, watch the video that's on that page, book a call with me, and we will take it from there. But either way, it's been an absolute pleasure having you watch until the end of this video, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you in the next one.